The air inside the galactic exposition of species crackled with excitement, but that thrill quickly morphed into sheer panic. A deafening explosion resonated, sending shards of glass scattering like confetti. Attendees shrieked, their eyes wide with terror as the massive Verithax burst from its enclosure, iridescent scales glinting under the fluorescent lights. It reared back, its elongated body coiling like a spring, muscles tensing, ready to pounce. In the chaos, Alex Reyes darted forward, heart racing. "Everyone, get back!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. As a seasoned wildlife handler, he'd faced countless dangerous creatures, but the sight of the Verithax unleashed stirred an instinctive fear deep within him. He could feel the eyes of the crowd on him, a mix of trust and desperation. "Alex, wait!" called Dr. Lena Yates, her brow furrowed with concern as she rushed to his side. She was a brilliant biologist specializing in alien predator behavior, her meticulous research often at odds with Alex's hands-on methods. "You can't approach it like that. It's unpredictable." "I know," Alex replied, scanning the creature's massive form as it growled, a low rumble that vibrated through the ground. "But if we don't act fast, people could get hurt." He took a step closer, his heart pounding. The Verithax's eyes locked onto him, and he could feel its curiosity mixed with aggression. "Let's just use the tranquilizers," Lena urged, her voice rising. "It's the safest option." "No!" Alex snapped, irritation flaring. "It'll just provoke it further. We need to show it we're not a threat." Just then, the Verithax lunged, a blur of scales and fangs. Alex instinctively dropped to the ground, narrowly avoiding its massive jaws. The creature skidded to a halt, confused but still dangerous. The crowd gasped collectively, and panic intensified. With every moment that passed, the chaos escalated. A group of security personnel rushed in, weapons drawn, barking orders that only added to the frenzy. "Stand down!" one of them shouted, eyes fixed on Alex. "We'll handle this." "No!" Alex shouted back, scrambling to his feet. "You'll just make it worse." His voice was hoarse, the urgency overwhelming. He could see the fear in Lena's eyes as she edged back, grappling with the situation spiraling out of control. "Alex, listen to reason," she pleaded, her hands trembling slightly. "You can't take this risk. It's a wild predator." "Exactly," he shot back. "And that's why it needs to trust us. I've studied its behavior. I know what it responds to." He took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. "If I can get close enough, maybe I can use the calming pheromones." The Verithax snorted, steam rising from its nostrils, muscles taut and ready to strike again. Alex felt a flicker of doubt but quickly extinguished it. He'd trained for this moment, but nothing could prepare him for the weight of the lives at stake. As Alex stepped forward, Lena called out, "You're insane! This isn't just an animal, it's a force of nature." Ignoring her, Alex focused on the creature. He remembered the details from Lena's research, the patterns in its movements, the flickers of emotion in its eyes. He raised his hands slowly, palms outward, inching closer. "Easy now," he murmured, his voice soothing. "We're not here to hurt you." The Verithax paused, tilting its head slightly. For a heartbeat, everything stood still, and Alex felt a glimmer of hope pierce through the tension. Then, with a low growl, the creature lunged again, and time froze. In that moment, Alex realized that humanity's greatest strength was not just in its technology or weapons, but in its ability to empathize, to connect. But would it be enough to save them all? As the creature closed the distance, adrenaline surged through him, fueling his determination to tame the chaos before it consumed them all. The crowd's frenzied screams echoed in Alex's ears as the Verithax lunged forward, its eyes narrowed and fierce. Instinctively he held his ground, fighting against the tide of panic washing over him. Time slowed as he locked eyes with the creature, trying to find that fleeting moment of understanding between them. "Alex, move!" Lena shouted, her voice breaking through the din. She stood several paces behind him, her expression a mixture of fear and resolve. "It's too dangerous." But Alex remained transfixed. Just give me a second, he whispered, heart hammering in his chest. The Verithax paused, its nostrils flaring as it caught his scent. In that suspended moment, he sensed its hesitation, a glimmer of curiosity amid the aggression. Suddenly, a loud bang resounded from behind the barrier, startling the creature. A security officer had dropped his weapon, the clatter causing the Verithax to snap its attention back to the crowd, ready to pounce. Adrenaline surged through Alex, and he sprang into action. "Everyone, back away slowly!" he shouted, hands raised. "Do not make sudden movements!" The crowd complied, but he could see the terror etched on their faces, the flicker of survival instincts overriding reason. "Alex, you're going to get yourself killed!" Lena pleaded, taking a cautious step forward. "Let the professionals handle this. We have containment protocols." "Protocols won't work with a creature this agitated," he shot back, darting to the side as the Verithax growled, its eyes flicking toward him. "If we don't act now, we'll lose control." The security team, visibly rattled, was exchanging frantic glances. "Sir, we need to sedate it," one officer insisted, gripping his weapon tightly. "No!" Alex's voice rose above the clamor. "You'll only escalate the situation." He turned back to Lena, desperation spilling into his words. "You know I can communicate with it. I can calm it down." Lena's eyes softened, but her resolve was firm. "And if it doesn't work? You can't rely on instinct alone. This is a predator, not a pet." He glanced back at the Verithax, its body coiled, eyes flickering between curiosity and fury. "I have to try," he replied, conviction solidifying his stance. With a deep breath, Alex pulled a small vial from his utility belt, one of the calming pheromones they'd developed together during their research. He slowly advanced, pouring a thin mist into the air, the sweet, floral scent wafting toward the creature. The Verithax hesitated, nostrils flaring again, as it inhaled the pheromones. Its growls softened to a low rumble, and Alex felt the tension in the air shift. "See?" he whispered to Lena, hoping to reassure her. "It's responding." Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted their moment. A section of the barrier collapsed under the weight of panicked spectators trying to escape. The Verithax turned its head sharply, instinctively sensing the chaos. "No! Get back!" Alex shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. But it was too late. The creature charged, weaving through the chaos, a blur of scales and fury. In the blink of an eye, Alex was at the front lines, scrambling to intercept the creature. "Stop! It's not a threat!" he yelled, but the crowd was in full flight now, a stampede of fear. "Alex!" Lena screamed, eyes wide as she rushed forward, trying to grab him. "Get out of the way!" Just as the Verithax lunged toward the fleeing spectators, Alex felt a surge of determination. "No! I won't let it hurt anyone!" He hurled the vial at the creature, the glass shattering upon impact, releasing a cloud of calming pheromones. The Verithax paused mid-lunge, its muscles tensing as the scent enveloped it. For a brief moment, the world held its breath, the creature caught between instinct and the unexpected calm washing over it. And then, everything changed. The Verithax halted, its fierce eyes softening. Alex's heart raced as he witnessed the miracle of connection, the wild beast recognizing him not as a threat but as a guide. But the crowd was still in a panic, and chaos reigned. Would this fragile bond hold long enough to turn the tide? As Alex stood there, heart pounding, the true battle for control had only just begun. As the last echoes of the crowd's panic faded, the Verithax stood still, its massive form silhouetted against the backdrop of scattered debris. Alex felt a rush of triumph mingled with unease. He had managed to calm the creature, but now the true test lay ahead. Would it remain docile, or would the tempest of its primal instincts reclaim control? Lena stepped beside him, breathing heavily, her hands on her hips. "That was reckless, Alex. You're playing with fire. If it snaps back to aggression, we could lose everything we've worked for." "I had to try," he replied, still watching the Verithax, whose scales shimmered in the fading light. It recognized the pheromones. It's a step forward. But what if it wasn't enough? Lena's voice trembled slightly. You know these creatures can be unpredictable. Maybe, but they're not mindless beasts. There's a connection here, Alex insisted, glancing sideways at her. If we can find a way to communicate, we might just discover something incredible. A low rumble from the Verithax drew their attention. It shifted its weight, glancing back at Alex, eyes filled with a strange blend of curiosity and apprehension. He took a cautious step forward, feeling a flicker of hope igniting within him. See? He murmured, more to himself than to Lena. It's responding to my presence. Just then, the security team returned, their expressions a mix of skepticism and relief. What's the situation? One of the officers, Daniels, barked, scanning the area with wary eyes. Is the creature under control? For now, Alex replied, maintaining his focus on the Verithax. But we need to keep it calm. I think it's open to communication. Daniels exchanged doubtful glances with his colleagues, and Lena shot him a warning look. This is not a time for experimentation. We need a containment strategy. We can't contain what we don't understand. Alex shot back, frustration bubbling beneath his skin. You want to trap it in a cage? It won't solve anything. Enough! Daniels interjected, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. We're not debating your pet project here, Alex. This creature is a potential threat, and your feelings don't change that. Lena glanced at Alex, concern etched across her face. He's right. We need a more solid plan. We can't risk another outbreak of panic. The Verithax shifted again, its attention shifting between Alex and the security team, its ears pricked. It seemed to sense the escalating tension, eyes narrowing as it gauged the group's intentions. Listen, Alex urged, trying to keep his voice steady. If we want to understand this creature, we need to show it we're allies, not enemies. Trust can't be forced. Trust? Daniels scoffed, taking a step closer to the Verithax. That's a one-way street when it comes to a predator like this. We can't risk any false moves. Please, Lena interjected, stepping in front of Daniels. If Alex believes this can work, we need to at least give him a chance. I don't want to turn it into a weapon, Alex said, his voice steadying. I want to understand it. If we can establish a rapport, we might find a way to coexist. Imagine what we could learn. Daniels hesitated, his gaze locked onto Alex. The tension in the air thickened as the Verithax emitted a low growl, sensing the conflict brewing among the humans. Suddenly, the creature moved closer, its massive head tilting as it studied Alex, an almost childlike curiosity shining through its fierce demeanor. Alex's heart raced. This was the moment. See? He said softly, extending a hand cautiously, palm up. It's curious about us. It wants to connect. We need to give it the opportunity. Lena took a deep breath, her eyes shifting between Alex and the Verithax. If we can gain its trust, she said slowly, maybe we can turn this situation around. Exactly, Alex replied, hope flaring within him. Let's take this risk together. But as the Verithax edged closer, a loud crash from the entrance interrupted their fragile moment. The air thickened with dread as an intruder burst into the compound, panting and wide-eyed, shouting warnings of an impending attack. More Verithax are coming! We're under siege! A wave of shock rippled through the group. The delicate balance Alex had hoped to forge was about to be tested in ways he never imagined. In that moment, he realized that the path to understanding would demand not only trust but courage to face the wild storm brewing ahead. The air was electric with fear and uncertainty, as the intruder's frantic shouts echoed off the steel walls of the compound. Alex's heart raced, but he forced himself to focus, glancing at the Verithax, which seemed momentarily frozen, its head cocked as it processed the commotion. More of them? Lena asked, her voice sharp with concern. How many? Too many to count. The intruder gasped, leaning against a nearby console to steady himself. They're coming for us. We need to fortify the perimeter. Fortify? With what? Daniels barked, still watching the Verithax warily. This is no time for heroics, Alex. We need to get everyone to safety. The Verithax emitted a low growl, vibrating through the floor like a distant thunderclap. It turned its gaze toward Alex, seeming to seek reassurance amidst the chaos. Wait! Alex called, raising his hands in a calming gesture. We can't just lock ourselves away. If they're coming, we need to understand why. But they're predators! Daniels countered, his frustration boiling over. You think they'll show us mercy? Maybe they don't want to fight, Alex argued, stepping closer to the Verithax. We have to establish some kind of rapport. If we can communicate with them, perhaps we can defuse this before it escalates. Lena exchanged a glance with him, her eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the alarm. You think they'll listen? After everything that's happened? Just like the Verithax did, Alex replied, determination hardening his voice. I can't let this opportunity slip away. With that, Alex took a deep breath, focusing on the creature. If we can find a way to show the Verithax we mean no harm, maybe it can help us. The tension in the room thickened, the others watching him with a mix of skepticism and fear. Alex, Lena warned, you're playing with fire. If you get too close. Just trust me. He interrupted, his gaze locked onto the Verithax, whose massive eyes shone with an unsettling intelligence. If there's any chance of finding common ground, we have to take it. He approached the creature slowly, his heart pounding in his chest, every instinct screaming to retreat. The Verithax remained still, its nostrils flaring slightly as it inhaled the air around them. Alex lowered his voice to a whisper, a gesture of peace. I'm not your enemy. We need your help. The Verithax's ears twitched, and for a moment, time seemed to stretch. Just then, a crash sounded from the compound's entrance, breaking the fragile stillness. The reinforced doors shuddered under the impact, followed by a chilling howl echoing from outside. Here they come! Daniels shouted, his face pale. Back! Lena cried, grabbing Alex's arm and pulling him away from the Verithax. We need to regroup. No! Alex protested, grounding himself against the oncoming tide of chaos. We need to stay calm. The Verithax can sense our fear. The Verithax let out a deep rumble, its massive form shifting as it rose to its full height. It bared its teeth, but instead of an act of aggression, it was a display of warning. Everyone, get back! Daniels barked, raising his weapon as the sounds of chaos intensified. Stop! Alex shouted, stepping forward again. We can't provoke it. If we show fear, we might lose this chance. The creature, sensing the mounting tension, took a step closer to Alex, its eyes narrowing. Please trust me, he whispered, pushing all his energy into the plea. Outside, the roars grew louder, punctuated by the sound of claws raking against metal. The compound's lights flickered ominously, casting shadows that danced along the walls, echoing the growing unrest. Suddenly, a figure burst through the breach, a Verithax, its scales glinting like molten steel in the chaos. It charged forward, and Alex felt the ground tremble beneath him. Alex! Lena screamed, grabbing his arm. We need to get to the control room. Now! But in that moment, something shifted in the Verithax's stance. It hesitated, glancing between Alex and the approaching creature, as if weighing its options. A flicker of understanding sparked in its eyes, and it let out a series of low, resonating growls, a call that seemed to vibrate through the compound. What is it doing? Daniels asked, bewildered. I think it's trying to communicate. Alex shouted back, feeling the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. This is it. If we can harness this connection, we might. The other Verithax halted, its attention shifting from Alex to the one at his side. An unspoken dialogue seemed to pass between them, and Alex held his breath, praying for understanding to break the barriers of their differences. As the compound trembled under the threat of imminent chaos, Alex realized that he wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for an alliance that could change everything. He could feel the world teetering on the edge of transformation, and he was determined to seize it, no matter the cost.